A Kamala Harris presidential term would differ significantly from a Donald Trump presidential term in various aspects, including policy priorities, governing style, and ideological focus. Here's a detailed comparison. Economic policy. Harris would likely continue and expand upon the economic policies of the Biden administration, focusing on inclusive growth, increasing minimum wage, addressing income inequality, and investing in green energy and infrastructure. Trump would likely emphasize tax cuts, deregulation, and policies aimed at stimulating business investment and economic growth. His approach would prioritize reducing government intervention in the economy and promoting free market principles. Healthcare. Harris supports strengthening and expanding the Affordable Care Act, with a potential push towards a public option or even Medicare for all. Her focus would be on increasing access to healthcare and lowering costs for Americans. Trump would likely continue efforts to dismantle the Affordable Care Act, promoting alternatives focused on private insurance and reducing government involvement in healthcare. His administration might prioritize reducing prescription drug prices and increasing healthcare competition. Climate change and environment. Harris is a strong advocate for addressing climate change through ambitious policies, including rejoining the Paris Agreement, implementing stricter emissions regulations, and investing in renewable energy sources. Trump's administration would likely roll back environmental regulations, prioritize energy independence through fossil fuel development, and withdraw from international climate agreements, focusing on economic growth over environmental concerns. Immigration. Harris would likely pursue more humane immigration policies, including pathways to citizenship for undocumented immigrants, protecting DACA recipients, and reforming the immigration system to be more inclusive and fair. Trump's immigration policies would likely focus on stricter border control, reducing legal immigration, and prioritizing policies such as building the border wall and enhancing deportation efforts. Governing style and leadership approach. Harris's leadership style is expected to be collaborative, focusing on building coalitions and working with Congress to pass legislation. Her approach would likely emphasize inclusivity and addressing systemic inequalities. Trump's leadership style is characterized by a more top-down approach, with a strong emphasis on executive orders and direct communication with his base through social media. He is known for a confrontational style, often challenging established norms and institutions. Communication. Harris would likely adopt a more measured and traditional approach to communication, using formal channels and maintaining a professional tone in public discourse. Trump is known for his unfiltered and often provocative communication style, frequently using Twitter or similar platforms to bypass traditional media and to speak directly to his supporters. Ideological focus and social issues. Harris is likely to prioritize social justice issues, including criminal justice reform, gender equality, LGBTQ rights, and racial equity. Her administration would focus on policies that promote fairness and address systemic discrimination. Trump's administration would likely take a more conservative stance on social issues, focusing on law and order, religious freedom, and traditional values. His policies might include opposition to abortion rights and efforts to restrict LGBTQ protections. Foreign policy. Harris's foreign policy would likely emphasize rebuilding alliances, re-engaging with international institutions, and promoting human rights and democracy abroad. Her approach would be more multilateral and cooperative. Trump's foreign policy is characterized by an America-first approach, prioritizing national interests, reducing involvement in international agreements, and emphasizing bilateral deals over multilateral cooperation. Supreme Court and judiciary. Harris would likely appoint justices and judges who are more progressive, focusing on upholding rights related to healthcare, reproductive rights, and environmental protections. Trump would continue to appoint conservative judges who emphasize strict interpretation of the Constitution, which could lead to rulings that roll back abortion rights, limit the federal government's regulatory powers, and expand gun rights. Domestic unity. Harris's administration would aim to heal divisions and promote unity through inclusive policies and rhetoric, seeking to address the root causes of social and economic disparities. Trump's approach might exacerbate divisions, as his policies and rhetoric often polarize the electorate and emphasize catering to his base rather than bridging divides. In summary, a Kamala Harris presidential term would likely focus on progressive policies aimed at promoting inclusivity, environmental sustainability, and social justice, with a collaborative and multilateral approach to governance. In contrast, a Donald Trump presidential term would prioritize conservative economic policies, deregulation, strict immigration control, and an America First foreign policy characterized by a more confrontational and unilateral style.